The order was short, official, and final. Her name, her rank, dismissed from the unit, effective immediately. As Lena Carter stood in the corridor with her gear at her feet, she heard laughter from inside the briefing room, men already moving on, convinced they'd just cut away a weakness. What none of them knew was that the unit had just begun to fall. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening. Lena had always known this day might come, not because she wasn't capable, but because capability rarely protected you from doubt. The kind of doubt that lingered in sideways glances and half-finished sentences. The kind that pretended to be about fit and cohesion, but was really about comfort. She lifted her pack, shoulders steady, and walked past the men who wouldn't meet her eyes. Outside, the sun pressed down on the base, bright and unforgiving. Dust curled around her boots with each step, whispering goodbye. Lena didn't look back. She told herself she wouldn't. Still, something in her chest tightened not with anger, but with a quiet grief. She had given everything to that unit. Her nights, her trust, her belief that effort would be enough. She thought she'd never hear from them again. She was wrong. The mission began without her, 3 days later. A higher-risk operation in broken terrain, the kind that demanded precision and patience. Lena followed the updates from afar, not because she wanted vindication, but because she still cared. Caring was her flaw, or so they had told her. At first, everything sounded routine. Entry secured. Objectives identified. Then the reports grew thin. Pauses stretched longer. Static crept into the lines. A subtle shift that only someone listening closely would notice. Inside the unit, confidence cracked. Without Lena's steady recalibrations, small mistakes multiplied. A misread signal. A rushed movement. The environment seemed to turn against them, wind carrying sound farther than expected, shadows behaving like doors instead of cover. The men exchanged looks that said what no one voiced yet. They were off balance. Lena sat alone that night, cleaning equipment she no longer officially owned, when the call came. An unlisted number. She stared at it for a long second before answering. "We need you," the voice said. It was Captain Reyes, tired, stripped of certainty. There was a moment brief, but real, where Lena considered saying no. Not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. She had learned how quickly loyalty could be cut loose. But then she pictured the terrain, the men she'd trained beside, the way fear crept in when plans unraveled. "I'm listening," she said. Back in the field, the unit was unraveling. An ambush had scattered them, pushing them into unfamiliar ground. Ammunition was low, comms unreliable. The night pressed close, thick with unseen movement. Decision felt heavier than the last. Weighed down by the knowledge that someone who should have been there wasn't, Lena moved through the darkness like memory itself, guided by instinct and hard-earned knowledge. She didn't announce her arrival. She didn't need to. When she stepped into their perimeter, the murmur stopped. Heads turned, relief flickered, quickly masked by pride. No one apologized. Not yet. She assessed the situation in seconds, voice calm, eyes sharp. She pointed out the missed vantage point. The pattern in enemy movement they hadn't noticed. The route that looked dangerous but offered the only real escape. Her presence didn't erase their mistakes, but it steadied them. Still, tension lingered. One of the senior operators questioned her call, voice edged with doubt. The old ache stirred in Lena's chest. This was the moral edge, again, the place where being right wasn't enough, where trust had to be reclaimed, not demanded. "Your choice," she said evenly. "But if we stay, we don't all make it out." Silence followed. Heavy. Then a nod. They moved together, coordinated at last, like a body remembering how to breathe. Lena took point when needed, fell back when it served the team. She wasn't there to prove anything. She was there to finish what they had started. The ambush came fast. Too fast. Shots cracked through the dark, chaos surging like a wave. Lena's voice cut through it, sharp and steady, guiding movements, calling positions. She dragged a wounded man to cover, hands slick with blood, whispering reassurance she wasn't sure he could hear. At the peak of it all, when retreat seemed impossible, Lena made a choice that would have terrified her weeks ago. She broke formation, drawing fire, buying the other seconds they desperately needed. Seconds that turned into survival. When the last shot faded and the night finally loosened its grip, the unit stood, changed, bruised, exhausted, alive. Later, as dawn crept over the horizon, painting the dusk gold, Captain Reyes approached her. His voice was quiet now, honest. "We were wrong," he said, "about you." Lena looked at the Unitat, the men who had doubted her, then followed her anyway. She felt no triumph, only a tired kind of peace. "I didn't come back to be right," she said. "I came back because leaving you behind didn't feel right." That was the moment something shifted. Not just in the unit, but in the space between them. Respect, real respect, settled in, not granted by rank, but earned through action. Lena was reinstated officially, but the paper meant less than the look she received now. The way instructions weren't questioned out of habit, the way silence fell when she spoke, not out of obligation, but trust. Because strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the one you push away until you realize they were holding everything together. And as the sun climbed higher, Lena stood where she had once been dismissed, understanding at last that being cast out hadn't broken her. It had revealed her. Because courage doesn't disappear when it's ignored. It waits, and it proves itself when everything starts to fall. If this story resonated with you, share where you're watching from and what moment stayed with you. Subscribe to Whispered Words for more human stories of resilience, loyalty, and the quiet strength that holds the line. Because the voices that matter most are often the ones we almost silence.